Dominica, good afternoon to you. At the afternoon time is 1:03. Welcome to the Talk on the Block. And if it's on the block, we will talk about it. This morning I did announce when we come back at the 1 o'clock hour, we'll be exploring the Dave Wash saga, I call it. A lot of unanswered questions. And our environmentalists and those concerned are looking for answers. Just last week, I think I went to a meeting there in Concord, where some of these groups were meeting and having a meeting with the person in charge of the so-called EIA. We'll give you an update on that and more. When we come back. And the big question is, why are the authorities seem not concerned about what is going on? My favorite song from Michael Jackson. Did you ever stop to notice all the children in the world? Did you ever stop to notice? We'll talk to the experts this afternoon. Let me, by way of introduction, say hi to one of our top environmentalists here in Dominica, Mr. Athimante. Haven't heard that voice in a while, huh?
It's around, man. It's
around.
Enduring the pain and biding time for what would be hopefully an effective and impactful intervention, because we have to choose our moments. more carefully with the passage of time. And I believe this is the moment when my silence should appropriately be broken.
Let's say good morning or good afternoon to Margot. How you doing? Matt,
Matt. I'm here, Matt.
you're here.
I'm here. I'm good. Though.
You keep fighting.
Keep fighting. Hey, I'm the president of Wave, acting president. And it's my duty. It's my job to educate the people. Keep them posted on what's really going on around them. Don't just pass by. Oh, it's a project. No, it's not. It's destruction in the name of progress, guys.
I think paint a picture and put this in perspective for us, because a lot of questions have been asked for the past few months, and it seems that we're not getting the answers we're looking for. Paint a picture for us as we begin this process.
But and we can recall 1996. That's not too far back to go, when there was another attempt by a previous administration, in this case, to establish a copper mine in the same area of the country, Deboche. Okay? And you remember what the outcome of that was. We were able to work with the communities, same communities from the area, Concord, Kalinago, Marigot, and help the population there to understand what could be the implications, what could be the impact of a project like that on their livelihood, the various livelihoods, which included agriculture, tourism, and of course, where they live, their homes. We were able to bring enough information to the table back then that helped people in the area to understand that this is not something they should close their eyes to. They should address it. But more than that, because although these projects take place in particular areas of the country, in this case, Deboche, they are projects that impact the entire island, directly and indirectly. Directly, in the sense that this is the main road from the capital city, Roseau, to the airport, the existing airport. And so if something happens that destabilizes and makes that road unsafe, the entire traveling population and the entire visiting population is directly affected from a point of view of safety and comfort. And by extension, from the visitor standpoint, if visitors have a bad or unsafe experience on a roadway, then that means that arrivals and occupancies and incomes and jobs and businesses in Dominica engaged in the tourism sector are going to be negatively affected by low occupancies, low arrivals, low revenue. And so, although at first it may not appear to be of interest to persons in other parts of the island, it is directly affecting the business activity in the island, which automatically, one way or another, affects the rest of us. We were also able at that time to have conversations with the administration of the day, the United Workers' Party, and help them understand why we had concerns. Not that we, were against industrialization, controlled industrialization, but we needed to do it well, properly, and safely. And fortunately, Dominica has laws in place, like the planning laws, the laws of the Planning Corporation, which have been in place for several decades, which take advantage of the experiences of people worldwide to craft an approach to developing fertile lands, to developing lands that were in one kind of use, let's say forestry or agriculture, and converting that into industrial use, like housing, industrial use like ports and airports and so forth. And what you needed to be aware of, to take care of, to ensure that in your haste to get progress, you were not undermining and destroying the fundamental prospects for the country to grow and develop. And so, although we did not quite succeed locally in convincing the administration of the day that this approach and this issue deserved their attention, we managed at that time to get the company itself, Broken Hill Proprietary, the BHP mining company, they were amenable to meeting, and they sent people down to meet with us, and they heard our viewpoints. And as an international community, interestingly, they were very much aware of the need to be cautious and careful, particularly, as they said, in small islands like this. I remember the gentleman telling me, Mr. Martin, we have mines in different parts of the world that are as big as Dominica. So we understand what your concerns are, because if we make a mistake, the entire island would be affected. And we showed him, and he agreed, how many rivers on the East Coast would be impacted: the Pegua River, the Crapo Hall, the Melville Hall River, all the way down to the Londonderry River, and then going south, the Casabruce River, all the way down to Rosalie. All these river systems which drew water from the Central Range would eventually be affected, and rivers on the West Coast would also be affected, the Layou River, the Belfast River, etc. Because we think of Dominica as a big island, but it's really small. And what you do in one neighborhood immediately impacts the next area. So, okay, fast forward. We were able to get the company to decide not to do the project, not the government. The company decided no, the risk was too high, and their image as an international company would be damaged if they went ahead and did a project like that could cause so much damage in a tiny tropical island that was interestingly marketing itself as a nature island. If you fast forward further, there is a project that was recently launched, the airport project in Wesley, which is just up the road from Concord. And the plan is now, as it was back then, to build an international airport. Nobody has serious objections to that, except the bigger the project, the more important it is to do it well and do it according to available best practices. Okay? So it turns out that the site that has been selected for that project, they're not rocks there. There's mostly soil. We can tell you that the civil works on the site of the international airport in Wesley, in some cases, has dug down to over 30 meters, 40 meters. You know what a meter is? It's over 3 feet. 40 times 3 is 120 feet deep, and they still cannot find rock. So what that means is there's no foundation in that area upon which significant civil works like an airport could be put. So they have to find rock. When we found out about it, our suggestion from WAVE was, why not look to the quarries on the West Coast and harvest the rocks that are already exposed, already being crushed, already being exported to other islands of the Caribbean, and just use a barge, the same barge, but bring it across to the other side of the island. So, because the rocks are available on Dominica, just not in that part of the island. And we were told then, oh, it's too expensive, etc., etc. And that is private ownership of the rocks. Well, it's a national project. The airport is a national project. It happens to be in a particular location. And so, okay. So people need to be clear that although we're talking about the extraction of rock from the area of Des Bois. The only reason why they are seeking to extract rock from that area is because they think that there's a sufficient supply of rock there to allow them to create a foundation for an over 600-acre area site on which an international airport is to be built. Now, the geologists like Len Matthew and others know more about the specifics of the quality and volume of rock that is available in that area or in other areas. And hopefully Lennon will speak with us in the course of this first hour. But we want to use this first hour to bring information out to the public. And the information is not just about the science, not just about the particulars of construction, not just about the extraction of resources with the implications for natural systems being destroyed and so on, but the implications for people. And in that regard, there are a couple communities close to the site that are going to be more directly impacted, although not only the ones to be impacted. One of them is the Kalinago territory. And we've already begun to see the impact of it. And a few months ago, Margot and I were on site at Des Bois Bridge.
So before they even really started the destruction.
Before any kind of activity had started, and we already saw the unfolding implications. We had seen before that, Margot, you remember, we went to Crapo Hall.
That's right.
And we saw that an entire side of a mountain
was gone.
Was destroyed for the same reason, to extract rock for the airport project. But already,
what about Blenheim River?
And Blenheim River,
they decaled that side of the mountain and completely messed up the river itself.
So that makes the point that although it's being driven by plans to build an airport, because of where the subsurface is and how it is, they have to bring in rock from somewhere else.
We're not even mentioning the roads, Athi.
We're not talking
how
about
dangerous those roads are, because the trucks carrying these rocks are not even covering. There's stones all over the place. There's potholes. Some of those smaller bridges have dropped down. It doesn't make sense.
I think you made a point there. I just wanted to draw to your attention. You said many years ago you were able to meet with the authorities, and they listened and they spoke to you, and of course we got a resolution. What is the difference now as compared to then?
Well,
are the authorities listening? Are they paying attention?
No. Maybe they're listening, but our letters of concern always just cast aside. We've written planning division many times and received this no response or no real answer to anything. Where's the EIA for the airport? No one knows. But the engineer who was running the meeting, we went to a couple weeks ago. Yeah, he said he's seen it. He saw it. So I'm like, well, where is it? You're at a meeting. Why don't you bring the proper paperwork so everyone can see? Yeah. Every question we asked this guy, he was so defensive. I had to walk out after.
Is he representing the government in this?
He's representing MMCE and CR5, the Chinese railroad company that's building the airport. That's who he's representing.
So who is the government representative?
You asked a really important
question. There you
question,
go.
Because the minister responsible for environment is the minister also from the area of the Kalinago, right?
Yeah. And no ministers were at that meeting. No,
he was not present.
No power reps, no ministers. It was just the engineer running the meeting. Right. And he actually, when we asked him, Mr. Paris asked him who he was representing, that was his response. Right. And then I asked who was hired to do the EIA. He said it was him as well. So it's like, how can I trust what you're telling me if
conflict of interest?
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest.
That is
Come on.
Important, very important observation, which is that the laws of the country, the planning laws, require that if you're going to do a project like that, or any construction, civil works driven project, you have to request permission from the planning division. The planning division has a tool that it uses to determine whether or not they should say yes and give you the green light to go forward. And one of the tools is an environmental and social impact assessment study. We've heard a lot about it in recent years, and that is what it does. It is designed to give planning a better handle on what are the likely damage to be caused by this project and what needs to be done to avoid or reduce the effect of that damage, which would thereby ensure the success of the project.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Margot has just reminded, we've written several times to find out where is the EIA, can we see it? And you know what, Matt? The planning laws of Dominica require that if an EIA is mandated by planning for a project, a public project, it must be made available to the public for
That
review.
is right.
That's the law of Dominica. They've not been able to produce an EIA. And bear in mind that long before a report called an ESIA report is available, there are several other steps to be taken and hence documents. First of all, there has to be a request from the project. Hey, we're planning to do this project. We need planning permission. So they need to provide a preliminary description with preliminary drawings and designs that cannot surface yet to the public. Then planning says, okay, if you want to go forward with this, you have to help us get to grips with what is the potential impact of this on the people, on the economy, on the water, on the trees, on the soil, etc. You have to do an ESIA. And here are the terms of reference for doing an ESIA. So planning writes and delivers to, in this case, MMC, the terms of reference for an ESIA. Those have not surfaced anywhere. Then after that, the project select somebody to do the work. A gentleman was assigned the responsibility to do an ESIA for the airport. He's produced a report, we have been told, reliably, but that report has not surfaced. And interestingly, when we wrote to planning to ask under the laws of Dominica for access to that report, planning says they have received no such report. As a matter of fact, planning says they have not received a request.
But I was at that meeting there in Concord a couple of weeks ago, and I heard him said he had a copy. So where did he get it from?
He said he had a copy of an ESIA for the airport. But that report.
Wait a minute. He didn't say he had it. He said he saw it.
He saw it.
He saw it.
It has never been produced. Planning does not have a copy. And the only reason and the only authority in the country to receive an environmental and social impact assessment study is the planning division.
That's
Nobody
right.
else.
Nobody else.
So why is planning not making it available?
Well, planning has said to us that they have not seen it. They have not seen a request for planning permission for the airport project.
I think Mr. Bean was. So where did he see that?
Well, we had that conversation a while ago. You gave me a call on the radio. Remember that, Matt? Asked me about the EIA, which I said I was on with Cliff Gerard of Ocean Caribbean. It was done, and all the findings, I'm not a professional geologist, but all the findings will tell you that is the wrong place to put an airport. 8 ravines full of water. There's water tributaries all underground. How are you going to put, now you see the problem they have now, they have to put one big tunnel 16 feet down. They put the tunnel already, you're going straight up. And that they think that the water is now, that's going to direct all the waters downhill and into the ocean. I mean, you can't just think that, because land changes and they want to blast in. They've done, who knows, they didn't unearth, another tributary, something underground that's going to undermine the land itself. As you put, they're mixing cement with that red dirt. Cement with that red dirt. I don't get it.
I see you have some genuine concerns, Arthie, but I know the others on the outside, the critics who will come and will say, well, Arthie, is this anti-development?
No.
No?
You know that song by King Austin, "The Price of Progress is
Hi,
High."
yes.
You have it in your
Yes,
system.
One of my
thank you.
favorite songs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's what drives my concern.
Yeah.
It's not about stalling progress. I have prepared even industrial type project documents and shared them with this administration and other administrations, and they wouldn't give it the time of day. One of the projects I shared, actually, interestingly, was a solid waste recycling plant
And they turned you down?
that would have taken care of all the solid waste that
Boy.
created a garbage problem.
That's what Nature Isle
And
really
then they
needs,
turned it
Afi.
down. And I
Boy.
know why. It's not that the project is not needed. It's absolutely crucial and critical. But sometimes in a small island, the mines are smaller than the
Yeah,
island.
unfortunately.
And I think that's what people like myself and increasingly people like Margot and others run up against. But the crucial point of this part of our conversation is that in anticipation of all the problems associated, particularly with industrial projects in small islands, which are really small, that's why planning and attention to and following the procedures and processes laid down in the law is so important.
Yep. Do it
And
properly.
the bigger the project, the more crucial it is to follow those guidelines. In addition to that, Matt, the world climate is changing, global climate. We just came from a COP30 in Brazil and so forth. If we are signatories to that, as well as to all the other international environmental conventions, it means that we agree to take all steps to prevent our development process from damaging and destroying our island, our country, because it has happened in other parts of the world. And so for a small island, we must pay much more attention. So it's vital. It's not about stopping, it's about making sure what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yep.
If you're going to put down a building, a hotel or a private building, you have to go to planning and get permission. And planning reserves the right to say to you, well, that location for that house is problematic. We need to do an assessment of the kind of environmental damage you might cause, an assessment of how you might affect the other people living around you in terms of the design of your septic tank, so-called waste system, because there are people downstream of you, and so on and so. That is designed not to stop people from building. It's designed to make sure that you don't have the problem that you have. There are certain places you drive around in Dominica now where government has built homes and houses as part of its housing revolution. And you smell human feces.
Mm-hmm.
You smell shit.
Yep.
Because the septic tank cannot accommodate the waste from the households because the soils cannot accommodate it. The soils cannot allow passage of the waste and the filtering of the waste. And you would have found that out if you had brought in and done an environmental and social impact assessment. Has one been done for all the various locations where houses are being put? I doubt it. I certainly know that they have not been made public. And the reason for making it public, Matt, is so that engineers, private engineers, public engineers, and others, architects, planners, would have access to it and would know, boy, those guys going to do a project like that above stream there, so we cannot do our project there. We must shift location. That's what proper planning is about. It's about making sure that whatever development you want to do is given the best possible chance. And so we can only conclude that the fact that no EIA for the international airport has been presented, none has surfaced. In fact, not even a plan for the airport project has surfaced, which they would have had to have to give to planning, so that planning would say, okay, this is the scope of the project you plan to do. So we would now examine it in light of the findings of the EIA done on the area. But planning and the officials there, the professionals there, have been compromised. They're not brave enough to speak up about it like we are. because their jobs are involved, I guess, but they are professionally charged with keeping Dominica safe. We bring in visitors here to Dominica to enjoy nature tourism. Do we know what kind of waste and garbage is going into our river systems when we take them river tubing?
Ask Hampstead River. Ask Hampstead. Everyone's dumping their stuff on the side of the river. They did a test in the water because the water looks clean. They did a test, and it's just disgusting what you'll find when you dump next to a river. Stop it.
I'm going to take a break, Ashley, and we'll come back after this.
Yes.
Today, when I look around in the world, what do I see? I see footprints that man have left on the sand while walking through time. I see fruits of our ambition, pigments of our imaginations, and I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see, universally this land is not bountiful as it was, simply because in its quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. All rivers run dry, soon the birds will fly, the mountains will be no longer high. And when I really think of it, I just wonder why, oh why. I see charity deplored, equal rights totally ignored, wisdom and ingenuity working in accord, simply to afford such inventions as nuclear warfare and environmental warfare. And I wonder now, where do we go from here? Prophets everywhere gaze upon the horizon and declare that judgment will come as the savage hands of unscrupulous men hide everything pass by. Time is running out as we eat and drink species at the brink of being extinct. And I think no one can deny that the price of progress is high, very high. I see consciousness as great as the day we live recklessly. Money make egos inflate and thereby create a turbulent state. I see a struggle between the sexes, the hang-ups and old complexes. Now the question is, right in context, what shall be next? About that is seen, this world have come divided between race, color, creed, and class. And some of the things the scripture predict should fully come to pass. Sorry that wouldn't be here. Children making children to be a part of this growing mass. And I ask, if this is progress, how long will it last?
All right, Dominic, over here. Very big song there from The Progress. Of course, we taking a break there to introduce our former forester, Mr. Durand. Oh, seemed very interesting and very concerned about what is taking place in Dave Wash. So let me, of course, connect to Mr. Durand this time. I want to form part of that discussion. Mr. Durand, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Matt. Good afternoon to your listeners. Good afternoon to Mr. Mate and Mava in the studio. I'm doing well. I'm doing okay.
Well, I see you have much concern and you've been following this issue with interest. At the top of it, what are your major concerns?
Oh, well, Matt, I think, let me just say that, I listened to Mr. Mate and I quite agree with him on most of what he said, all of what he said. And there's reason for us to be concerned about what is going on in the Deboche area. This is, as a former forestry staff, um, this is an area that is supposed to be a forest reserve. Actually, it's part of the Northern Forest Reserve, which also adjoins the Central Forest Reserve. And, in Dominica, we have protected areas in national parks and forest reserves. We have 3 national parks, 2 forest reserves, the Central Forest Reserve and the Northern Forest Reserve. These are lands that were set aside since in the 70s, 1975, established by law to provide services and to protect our biodiversity and to protect our waters. That's a major water, one of our major watersheds. And what we're seeing is we've moved away from, the whole idea of keeping these lands as protected lands, and we're seeing destruction now. And I'm trying to wonder, as a former forestry officer, what has happened, what is really happening, how the forestry department, and the planning department division can allow, for that kind of activity in that area, which I think, as a person who knows that area very well, I am very knowledgeable of the area, the boundaries of the park, the Am Reserve, and the whole area. I know that there is not rock outcrop material there, extensive rock outcrop for that kind of activity. What it is, why would the forestry department permit this activity, and the physical planning department, as the young man said at that meeting, the last meeting that was held in Concord. I was there. I went because I was interested in understanding what is going on, what this activity is all about. And that is not about not allowing development to take place. We all should be there for development. But we need to understand that Dominica is unique. It's so unique. It's what we are blessed. The Almighty blessed us with a country that will allow for certain activities, and certain activities when we just cannot allow that. And so we have to understand the topography and the terrain, and our whole environment, what it is we can fit into this, what it serves. We are so blessed. We're so unique among everybody else in the Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean. There are things we have lots of potential to do, as Mr. Madden said, tourism activities. We have a lot of potential for tourism. There are people who come to Dominica to see just our nature, our nature experience and biodiversity and so many other things. Our wildlife, the trees. They want to, when they go to the forest and they see the forest, they can understand a small country the size of Dominica with such, massive trees, in oceanic rainforest. The better remaining pieces of rainforest in the Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean, nowhere else, not Puerto Rico, not Jamaica, not the Dominican Republic, not even St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada have this kind of tropical forest that is presented here. And so why we want to destroy it? I think the area that they carry out this activity, if you look at the map that is presented, part of the program is going to be, it will take up some of the area in the forest reserve.
I was about to ask that. Are they bothering the forest reserve? Do you think they're getting into that area?
Going to go, based on what I saw, it is going in the reserve. And the young man said forest, she told him that you know, this project is not going to go into, it is going to be in the reserve. And so the reserve was established for, you know, for a number of reasons, a number of factors, including protecting our biodiversity. We have its habitat, imperial parrot, the largest of all Amazon parrots in the world. You know, it's an ancient bird. It's an endemic species. We only have 3 endemic, including the 2 parrots. And now, the house wren, which was split up recently, is now referred to as the Kalinago wren. I mean, why we should not be proud of those things? Why we should not accept that, appreciate it, you know, and do what we've seen is no. This place is not suited for that. There are so many, as Mr. Martin said, there are already established quarries on the West Coast, you know, and other areas with more extensive rock outcrop. Yes, it is expensive. It's going to be a cost for them. But you see, again, Matt, what is going on there with this project is an unplanned project. Because if they had planned this project, there was an ESIA done, you know, they would have found out that they need to take the material elsewhere. And so that would be, you know, fitting into the cost, the budget allocation for that project. And now they're stuck, you know, and so they're trying to get the material from close as possible. But you're taking it from an area that is going to not only affect the habitat, but it's going to affect the communities, immediate communities, and elsewhere, you know. It's going to affect the quality of the water, you know, it's going to affect the aquatic life, not only in the river, but also in the marine environment, you know.
So why are foresters like yourself not speaking out if they know the truth?
Say that again?
Why are foresters, you're a former forester, you're speaking the truth, as you say. So why are foresters like yourself in that department not speaking to the authorities?
Matt, let me tell you, I do not need other forestry staff, former staff, and those who are current to speak. Let me tell you something, Matt. I went to forestry as a young man, right? I spent 4 decades of my youthful life working in forestry, working to, you know, really change forestry from a conservation and protection, you know, matter. It became one of probably the better units among forestry sectors in the Caribbean. We were probably second to none. Education and research and everything else you can think of. I was part of this among everybody else to contribute to that work. And today I'm seeing this work is gone. I spent so many sleepless nights. I work in hot sun. I walk all over Dominica doing this kind of work. And today we're just seeing that things are being done. Nobody is advising the administration, you know, accordingly. Nobody can advise government. It's not a matter of, you know, fighting with government, you know, it's advising. You advise to say that, yes, you could do this, or no, you cannot do that. You should not do that. And it protects the administration, it protects the state, it protects forestry department, it protects the people. You understand? And that is what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to advise the state so that they take proper and correct decisions in doing things, especially in our state. You understand? People do not understand, and I believe them, the people who are supposed to be governing us. And I don't think they're governing, you know. I think they're ruling because there's not enough people's participation. People are supposed to participate. You're supposed to open up to the people and say, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. What do you think? Nothing like that. Things are just showing up and it's like nobody should question. It's like, I think what is going on is what I say goes. That is what we are faced with. What I say goes. And I don't think that the forestry department is informed on most of these on most of these issues. And we've had several instances. The hotel in Cabrit, right? You know what happened? They took 15 acres of land from the Cabris National Park to establish a hotel. Now they're taking the swampland that was supposed to be one of two major swamplands, three major swamplands, one of two coastal swamplands on Dominica. You know, instead of doing otherwise, they are destroying these areas. And these areas serve a purpose. They serve a very important purpose. And you put a hotel there that is not even functioning. You know, why are we doing this? It's just like what they're doing. The money that they're spending to do all what they're doing in Debonche, why don't they spend that money to take material from elsewhere to take to Wesley for the reasons why they need it? Or put the money into developing the communities, help the communities with their tourism programs, you know, their farming programs and whatever. So people can have, you know, more direct benefits that they can have opportunities for livelihoods, for the social and economic well-being. You understand me? Why didn't they organize these areas? For example, where they're doing this, the right way they're doing the work in Debonche. You can develop a trail from there that goes all the way back to Bells, Glogomi, and people can hike with tourists in there. And there's a major mountain summit up there, the Mang Peak. You can go beyond the Mang Peak and go into the Melvin Hall, you know, basin. And you go all the way to Diablo to follow the reach from Melvin Hall basin into Mosquito Mountain, into Diablo 10, and you can go back all the way to Woodford Hill, you know, Wesley, all of these areas. Why they don't put money to do these things instead, and that so that they create more opportunities for the young people around there, you know, train them to be proper tour guides, and that they can lead people on those hikes. The Cicero is in that basin. They will see the Cicero, they see Jacos, they see all these big gum and all of these things, you know. People would enjoy that.
I know we have so much knowledge coming from you there, but we have to cut you short here because we have a number of guests standing by. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jura, former forestry, sharing his thoughts. Yes?
Let's underscore what Mr. Jura said.
Sure.
What Mr. Jura is reminding us is that certain areas of the world are good for certain things, just like certain parts of Dominica are good for certain things and not good for others. Our central highlands, our mountainous regions, our central forest reserves and parks, which have been protected by law since 1975, are good for a certain kind of business. This is not to say you do no business here, but the business you do there is today the largest business in Dominica, tourism. Tourism is the largest earner of foreign exchange in Dominica based on industrial activity in the country. And it is only possible because we have managed to protect and we still have these natural systems intact.
So I think the question is, why are we continuing to promote Dominica as nature island when we keep destroying it?
But there's an element
Good
of
question.
There's an element of hypocrisy and there's an element of ignorance. I know that a lot of people who have formed government in the past and who form government today don't know. They genuinely don't know what they destroy when they destroy a forest system. They really genuinely don't. They think it's just trees. They don't understand it's not just trees. There's animals, bio-animals, and mammals and other animals. They're also destroying natural soil and drainage, which actually keeps the island green, which allows the farming valleys to be well watered, like Melville Hall, like Casa Bruce, like Rosalie, etc., etc. So you can do farming all year round without necessarily having full irrigation systems. So the connection requires technical knowledge. Mr. Jura's point is that the professionals who know that and who are working in government and understand the things, they have a responsibility that apparently they're not carrying out, which is to inform and guide and advise. And so they remain silent, quiet. They watch things go to hell. They wait for their retirement to come. They take their retirement gratuity and they go about their business. And so that's not enough. And I'm suggesting that it is time that we understand what we call Dominica is where we need to continue living, where our grandchildren hopefully will be able to continue living because we'll have water, because we'll have soil, and because we'll have trees. You take away trees and you leave the soil will soon run out of its capacity to hold the water, and you'll have Haiti-like
Ask Haiti.
conditions.
Ask
right?
Haiti. There you go.
That is what you'll end up with.
That's what we want.
And if you take that away, it means you're taking away the possibility, not just for agriculture,
Wow.
but you're taking away the possibility for what we have, nature tourism. And that we could develop nature educational tourism. This could be the center of natural systems study, research, and training for the entire Caribbean.
That's
Dominica could be. So in the same way, Ross University came here how many years ago and moved from 9 students to 2,000 students. We could have had a natural systems university here,
Of course.
run by people like Mr. Durand and the other foresters as the professors, as the persons knowledgeable. So if you have leadership who have their finger on the button and on the money, not understanding that, then they will do stupidity. They will behave like dotish people. They'll behave like they don't know because one, they don't know. And two, frankly, they have unfortunately become convinced that development means what you can build yourself. But development is how you take care of something that the God Almighty, the Creator that they pray to when they go to church on a Saturday and Sunday, it is He who built the trees and the forests and put the animals in there and keeps it alive. It is Abba who did that.
That's
So because you didn't put wood and nails and concrete in place, you don't think there's a construction that has taken place in the forest? Mr. Durand can talk to you about the complexity of a forest system.
Ask the mushrooms.
I can talk to you about the complexity of a soil system. Mr. Lennon Matthew, as a geologist, can talk to you about the complexity of a surface system. That is our wealth. You destroy that, and you lose the capacity for building anything because there's nothing to hold it, as they're finding out.
Yeah.
And two, nobody will want to come here. You think people will leave where they are in Toronto, Ottawa, British Columbia, and come to Dominica for a vacation to see what? To see how we have managed to destroy an island?
The no nature isle.
And so that's the point. The taxi drivers, where are the taxi drivers in all of this? The bus drivers, the tour guides, the tour operators, the hotel owners, all of whom depend. All of us depend on nature for us to earn a living. That's why visitors
That's
come
right.
here.
On a clean environment.
And we should all, not just the foresters, we should all stand up and defend and protect. There's a slogan that people in tourism have been using for some years now. Tourism is everybody's business.
That's right.
Now think of that. If tourism is everybody's business and your tourism is based on a healthy environment, isn't the environment everybody's business?
Let's take a break on this one. I'm getting some very interesting information there. A source who's familiar with the site says, I visited that site some time ago, and there seemed to be some sophisticated operation and describe a machine that is that separates the water from the other materials and then shakes and sorts of mineral. He was quite impressed. So the question is, are the Chinese have they started mining copper? I guess the authorities will find out, and I will be doing more digging there. I think you're surprised?
It's tragic, but I happen to know from BHP
Yes.
experience in 1996 that there is copper in that part of the country. But guess what, Matt? They said that the copper is at least 4,000 plus feet
Below?
down. So to get at the copper, they would have to remove soil from an area roughly equivalent to the size of Roseau, 4 square miles.
And that's going to be a lot of blasting.
That would allow them to
They're
go
going to
down
blast
4,000 feet
that area.
and dig into the rock subsurface of the island. Now remember, 4,000 feet is about the height of our tallest mountain, which is Mount Jablote. Okay, so you'd have to go down
That's
that
a lot of digging.
and dig.
That's a lot of digging.
And guess what, man? One of their challenges was, what are they going to do with all the soil that they would move and all the raw material from the processing of the rock to extract copper? So there is copper, but the company determined that if they would have to do that amount of civil works to get at the copper, it would not be economically worth their while. And in addition, they would have succeeded in destroying a large part of the only nature island in the world. And they didn't want that attached to their bio. The company did not want to be known as a company that destroyed a nature island.
Well,
there's
this story just coming to mind is one that, of course, the authorities have to follow, or those concerned have to follow closely, because it's coming from a source close to the.
Absolutely. Then it needs to be monitored very, very closely. Because remember, in Papua New Guinea back then, BHP had actually created a huge disaster based on a copper mine that they had established in that island, a much larger island than Dominica. And they were forced by the courts of their own country in Australia and in Papua New Guinea to stop the operation because of the contamination that resulted from the mining operation that they were doing there.
Let's confirm and find out more. We're going to call our next guest there.
When the British heard of this place, they brought Africa to war. The Caribs were to stay with them. French people got to Northern, so they came to the American field. So the British got back on the French country still with us. Running better than the British and the Southern God. And they come back to restore the home and empty the yes, you're tired, we live on. The green French Caribbean Africa, we are unique. Now we are on our own path. Push it from, we are going to be alright. For children,
One of the persons, of course, deeply concerned is Carib Chief Annette Sanford. She's on the telephone with us, of course, and will share her concerns as this mining, if you will, continues there in the Debash area. She has expressed concern in the past. I'm sure she's still very concerned. Annette, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to your listeners. Good afternoon to Artie and Margot. Nice to hear you all this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Annette, you continue to express much concern about what's happening in the Devansh. What can you share with us?
To be honest with you, Matt, I speak on behalf of the Kalinago community because initially when we released the statement as a council, like I said, we had consultation with the Concord community as well as other community members who personally approached me and expressed their concern about the work that were going on. And we decided to put out the statement, which of course had, various reactions. Some people were for it. Some people were saying, okay, we are against development in the community, which wasn't quite the case. Because as an indigenous population, we live very closely with the land. And of course, over the years, we have been the keepers of the land generally. We protect our forests. We protect the biodiversity within our community. And research has shown that the indigenous people have contributed a lot to the preservation of the environment. And so when I speak on behalf of my community, it's because we are genuinely concerned about the significant portion of the forest that is being destroyed. And as a Kalinago community, especially I speak on behalf of the Concord community, where all of the community members use the river on a daily basis, I would say. And for those of us who live out of Concord, we use the river quite frequently. And based on the conversations I've had with the business persons across the area, people who use the river directly and people who indirectly benefit from a clean river, they are not happy with what is going on. The forest is vital to environmental health, climate resilience, and culturally and historically, it's very significant to our people. So the current level of destruction that is taking place there is unacceptable, and it reflects a serious lack of respect to our lands and our heritage and our commitments to safeguard lands, especially within the Kalinago area. And generally Dominica, because we keep on promoting Dominica as a nature island. And if we continue to destroy our natural resources, we're going to lose them, because natural resources are things that you have, and if you do not care for them, if you do not protect them, when you destroy them, it's not going to come back. And we must say that we have been blessed with a lot of rivers, but we need to continue to protect them and to continue, having the benefits of these resources to our people and our community, especially the Kalinago community, depend a lot on the river and for day-to-day survival and use. So that is why we, as a council, are very concerned about what's happening up there currently.
I know you're very concerned, Annette, but here's my question or my point here. Your power rep is the environment minister. Is he going to intervene in this destruction taking place there? Has he spoken to you, your council? What are your concerns there?
From the conversations I've had with persons from his ministry, they have not been getting any information at all from whoever is constructing the project, whether it be planning. They said they have absolutely no idea of what's going on. I'm not sure who to believe, unless I have documents to say, okay, these people were involved or they were not involved, then I wouldn't really know. But from conversations with them, they are not in any kind of communication with persons who are constructing the airport, and they are left out of the loop. So
no, but you're making you've made a statement that's very interesting. You said conversations with them. So what about your power rep, your minister? Have you spoken to him directly about what is going on?
I've spoken to the Kalinago Development Officer, who represents the territory and who is the liaison person between the Kalinago Council and his office. I haven't honestly met Jose Fergus face to face. It's very difficult to meet him on those levels. So hopefully, my first engagement after we released the statement was to meet with them and have a community consultation with all the leaders. However, I understand that he wasn't present at that first meeting that was called within the community. Our office was never notified. So someone from another council sent me a message asking if I was going to attend, and I was like, I'm not aware of this meeting. And at the time when they sent me the notice, I was out of state, so I couldn't even be present. And it was way too late to try to get another councillor to be present at the meeting. The other meeting we had one of the councillors represent, and again, we were never notified of the meeting. So it's like they organized 2 meetings, but we were never notified as a council to be present. Initially, when I spoke to Mr. Benoit, when I called him after visiting the site, we actually did a site visit as a council. He said that they were organizing community consultations and they would have informed us when they were going to have these consultations, so we would be present. But like I'm telling you now, we were never informed. We were never notified that they were going to have consultations with the community.
Very, very interesting there. So you're going to continue monitoring what's going on there, and of course, we'll bring the Kalinago people up to date.
Yes, definitely. We have started, having discussions with them, and like I know Gary has been doing extensive work trying to keep the people knowledgeable about what's going on and to really get them informed using an evidence-based approach, because many times people say we speak a lot, we say things and we don't have any evidence, but these are young people, Gary and also Janelle, who are coming forward with evidence-based, proposals to the community and to show that, hey, these guys are not doing what they're saying. They're actually telling lies, and literal lies. So I'm just saying, in the past, some people would come to the territory and try to shove things down our throat, and maybe because of our lack of understanding of certain terms or language, we may not have understood at the time, but we have an educated population right now, and to come to the territory and try to give us something that is completely different from what we're seeing, I mean, come on, you're trying to disrespect us. We know exactly what's going on. We know the impact that it is going to have. Like I say, you don't even have to go to a school, or you don't even have to have a degree to see that the extent or the extensive damage that they're doing right now to the forest is going to have a negative impact on the community. You don't need someone to go to school to tell you that. It is just obvious. And anyone who's going to build or to do something, they would have had to have proper planning before. I mean, we do it every day in our life. When I'm writing for projects, I write my entire budget. I ensure that, we stick to the budget. So why is it that such a huge project is being constructed without any proper planning, without any assessment, the impact assessments on the community? And what are they doing right now to really try to resolve some of the terrible issues that the community is facing, So the ministry that's responsible for doing this really needs to come forward and give an explanation to the Kalinago people of exactly what's going on. We need to see their faces in Concord. We need them to come up and talk to us and answer our questions. We need to know exactly what's going on. And I know that there have been people who have written to them, people who have asked them questions, and then no response. And that has always been something that they have been doing. So we need them to answer to the people of the Kalinago territory.
Okay, Anna, thank you very much. It seems like your minister, your power rep, seemed elusive because you've been trying to reach him for some time. I think what's your take on what's going on there?
But Matt,
he's right there.
I'm listening to Chief Sanford.
Yes.
And I'm listening to the voice of her little daughter, her little child. It's wrenching my heart as a father that here you have a woman who has accepted the responsibility of leading the council of her tribe, the first woman to so do. And here's her little daughter saying, Mama, Mama, pulling her. And here she is trying to say, I am doing something, my dear child, to protect your possibility of living in this Waitikobuli land that our forefathers and the ancients left to us, and that we have taken good care of. Matt, I mean, what people listening to us can say, oh, that's emotional stuff. Yes. How many of you have children? Do you care for your children? Would you put your child to live in a pig pen? Would you put your child to live in a house that has no proper facilities for waste disposal? That's not being emotional. That's being a mother, a father, a parent, a guardian.
Being
A
human.
human.
That's being human. And that is a part of the formula of development that we must never lose. Because if development is going to mean that you don't care what you destroy, but you want to put your building there, you want to put your hotel there, you want to put your house there. Look at what just happened in Jamaica. Look at Black River in Jamaica. Look at the other hotels that were placed on beaches, contrary to the advice of the conventions related to climate change, sea level rise, and so forth. And look at what Dominica is doing. The nature island that has beautiful options inland is today putting hotels on the beaches, on the coastline, where we know they are at far greater risk,
On the wetlands.
right? Far greater. Why are we allowing that? So the buck stops at the desk of those who are in charge of Dominica's policy direction. They told us they were going to make Dominica the first climate resilient country.
in the world.
You know what that means? It means you will be taking care of things that we know from science contributes to a safe climate, forest systems, soil systems, river and water systems, animal life, both bio life and surface life. You will take care of the subsurface, your rocks, your volcanoes. You wouldn't destroy any of that. Not that you wouldn't do anything, but you would use it in a way that is sensible and that allows future generations to be able to enjoy the nature island in the same way that we have. So what Chief has just reminded us, we have ended up in 2025 at the mercy of a group of rulers who seem to want only to build more buildings, whether it be at Mount Daniel or up in the north or wherever. They want to build. You know, Trump says, drill, drill, drill. Our people seem like they're saying, build, build, build. But if by building you're destroying the very foundation of the island on which you're building, are you committing suicide? Or are you committing murder and genocide? Are you committing future generations of Dominica to a land without trees? A land without parrots? A land without agouti and manikou?
Let me give Margot to give a word there. Margot, you raise your hands there.
Yeah, Matt, you know, listening to the calls and to Athy, and at that meeting, a grown man, I'm not going to say his name, stood up, and his eyes were tearing because I was looking at him and I could feel his pain. He was talking about growing up on this land, you know, his family land, bathing in that river right there and drinking the water as he bathing, because I grew up like that too. When we go and bathe, it's clean river. You can drink and swim same time. You know, a lot of Dominicans know they used to do that. Now, Father Coffey has asked that question many times when World Rivers Day comes up. Would you drink the water in your community river? And no one can say yes at this point, unless you live in the heights. Okay, and where Desbranches is, nobody living inside the Central Forest. So they're getting the cleanest water, Matt. And this is what's happened to it. You can't see through the water. You have gunk all on the edges of the banks. It's disgusting. It's like, come on, we claim to have 365 rivers, which we don't, but we claim it and we're so proud. Look at our rivers and our waterfall. And that we're doing. My people, we have to stop that. That we cannot continue. If you drive up the coast of Dominica, go up the west coast, every river have a construction thing on it, or a quarry, or a something. They're right there. Look at Layou. You cannot go and bathe in Layou again. You cannot bathe. You have to go all the way up in Chillingford property. You cannot bathe there again. It's silt. There are no stones. Garakan has removed every last stone for a mile. You cannot bathe. Much as the Titiwi people catch in there, because there's always colas and all kind of thing floating down that river. You know what I mean? We cannot continue to do that. We're disrespecting nature, disrespecting these rivers, deforesting. To get to the stones, they have to chop how much trees? And then we go and complain, oh, hurricane, look what the hurricane do. Flooding and this and that thing. Come on, man.
All right. We could not reach her this afternoon, but I think she chimed in a couple of weeks ago, and I want to play this interview I did with Annie Edwards about the same issue.
I am trying to wrap around my head.
Is the only time this government seem to respond is when you what they call boots on the ground. So Concord is an interesting community. On one side of the river, it's part of Marigot, and on the other side, it's part of the Kalinago territory. So the first person who actually told me about that development was the chairman of the Marigot Village Council, who was so concerned that, he was trying to get information and there was no information coming through. That's Mighty Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So after subsequently we have been talking, but I think to me the time has come for the Marigot Village Council to start mobilizing people in that area all the way to Concord, and those on the Kalinago chief to mobilize and we come together. And in fact, as many Dominicans as possible, because this thing is really hurting Dominicans in general. Just imagine you're driving, everybody uses that road to drive to the airport, and when you're passing, you see all this mud on the road, and they don't even clean up the place, they just leave all the mud for you to drive in. Yeah, I think the time has come for us to come together and make us go on the road and let these people know this is not going to continue. We are not going to lose an entire river for an airport, because we are right in the source of the river. It's not like what they did in some of the other areas is closer to the mouth, so maybe you can rehabilitate. If you destroy the source of the river, then the river is gone.
It's Kaiso! Yes, the Calypso season is upon us. Saturday, December 13, 2025 at the factory, Valley Road, only $20. 8 o'clock, sitting only $30. Come here at the beginning of the season and make sure you're there till the end. Many Calypsonians will be competing. Only 12 gladiators will make it. The grand eliminations for the 2026 Calypso season, Saturday, 13 December 2025. Remember, 8 o'clock at the factory. Come here, the funny songs, the serious songs, political songs, everything. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your dog, and come. Kaiso!
But do you really have money to burn? What about your commitments? Have you paid your bills? What about your telephone bill, your light bill, your water bill? What are you going to use to pay your loan? A truck of stones? NCCU wants you to continue to make wise financial decisions that will not leave you stressed. Think of your commitments. Commit to your commitments. Commit to saving. And then you can have some money to burn.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till you fly out, all your business running out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season. Insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
Oh boy, I know the people are eager to call and participate in the discussion, but we have one or two more guests that are scheduled, and we'll allow your phone call sometime late in the hour. Somebody's pleading there on Facebook. Please, Dominicans, please come out and let the world or show the world you are ready For those concerned about bringing this country together, this destruction must stop. On the line with us is geologist Leonard Matthew, no stranger to this radio for sure. Always here to educate on the issues. Mr. Leonard Matthew, I think from the Benz area, geologist based in the United States. Leonard, good afternoon to you. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon, Matt. Good afternoon, Alfie and Margot, and good afternoon to your listeners. How are you, Matt? I'm doing fine.
You've listened to the issues time and time again on this, saga taking place there in Dewash. What's your take? What's your understanding of what's going on?
Matt, well, Margot can tell you this is not the first time I have been talking on this issue, and let me state categorically so people are clear. I am no way against development. I am no way against the advancement of our country, but I will always say that the end result doesn't justify the means. And it seems like what has been happening home is you can put up fancy things, you can build buildings, you can build airports. As long as it is there, we should shut our mouth, say nothing, because we have an airport and nobody cares as to what is the process. Matt tells you, all this boils down to a lack of respect and a lack of understanding of our governance. And I will say that when we have a parliament and we have a government that goes every 5 years in asking for the citizens of the country to give me the power to make decisions on your behalf, we cannot then later betray that trust and betray that power. And the reason I'm saying this is because every action in Dominica that the government takes on the behalf of the people has to have a legislative process. So therefore, if you're quarrying, if you building infrastructure, if you're doing stuff that can have adverse effects on the environment, there has to be rules and laws that have to be followed. And one of them is, especially as it relates to the airport, is the what they call an EIN. Afi Martin has explained that I think in a nothing. But here's the deal, Matthias. The bottom line is the government is doing the largest infrastructure project on behalf of the people of Dominica, and that is the citizens of Dominica, not on behalf of the Chinese, not on behalf of any foreign entity, but on behalf of the people, using the people's resources. So the only people that the government of Dominica, and when I say government, I don't want to say Labour Party, because it doesn't matter which party is in office. There are processes that need to be followed. The only person that this government is answerable to, because they're working on the behalf, is the people of Dominica. And if you put processes in place and you are not following the processes, that means you are not doing the work of the people for the people on behalf of the people. And the people have a right to stand and ask questions. So what Afimata is doing, what Mago is doing, what the Kalinago chief is doing, what the people in the affected areas are doing, it's their right and their responsibility under the rules and laws and the constitution and governance of the country. So what I noticed is there is an airport that started being built, and the population and the people of Dominica has not seen an EIA. And I mentioned before, it's not just an EIA at the airport, but an EIA on every sector that's going to be affected. For example, we talk about the destruction of drainage. Where is the EIA that showed we are going to remove material from the draining area? Here are the endemic species. Here are the different plants. Here are the fauna and flora that's going to be affected. Here's what we're putting in place to make sure that we lessen the effects of that. Then you take heavy vehicles, you take these materials, you transport them from Blenheim to the airport, and you destroy the road. You destroy Blenheim, Hampstead Bridge, Calbishi, Woodford Hill, and there's no EIA, and there were no meetings to tell these people this is what's going to happen. You see, I'm not Belty, I'm trying not to be too technical. I'm bringing it down so people can visualize and understand. So If we just tell the people that we are going to build an airport for $1.something billion and we didn't do an EIA, not tell in my profession, before a structure like that has to be built, there would have been in advance, probably 5, 6, 7, 10 years in advance, there would have been a geotechnical study that would involve the use of drilling rigs to do soil boring, soil testing, understanding what the subsurface geology and sediments look like, understanding where the bedrock is, understanding what the groundwater flow direction is, understanding the drainage system. And once you understand what the subsurface geology is, then you would say, hey, these are some of the engineering controls, these are some of the hazards, these are some of the things we need to do in terms of compaction, in terms of settlement, in terms of tunneling, in terms of where our water table is. We may have to put in big drains, we may have to put in. But you know what that boils down to? All that boils down to the cost. How much it's going to cost us in the long run. Then you would say, okay, I need certain types of rocks for compaction. Where do I have that in Dominica? Do I have to import it? And Afi Martin said there are quarries already on the West Coast. And I heard they said it's private. Well, if it's private and it's owned by Dominicans, then that should be factored into the cost, because that means our passport money would be used to purchase materials from Dominica that's going to employ people in the quarrying industry, in coal industry, and the economic impact would be more young men and women in Dominica would need to be working in the quarry in College, then they can pay social security, they have salaries. And they don't have to be running around Dominica shooting one another, because there's enough money spent in a quarry that's established. People learn new technology. As a matter of fact, one of the ladies who was the chief physical planner has a PhD in quarry dust and quarry, so she could help with that. Then you're creating unemployment. But that wasn't seem to have been done. And what I am hearing is that the airport started being built, and it's a fix it as you go problem. So now you don't want to use the corridor established. Where else can we get material? But for you to take material from Débranche and to say that material is suitable for what you're trying to do on your airport, you would have had to do drilling. You have to do geotechnical studies to make sure that the material you take in is suitable for the engineering, for the properties that you're trying to control. For example, if I have a water problem, I'm just drawing out for example. If I have a water problem in the airport and there's not enough drainage, and I go to an area and I take clays or whatever the case may be, or swelling sands, and put it in the airport, I'm not solving the problem. I am going to cause a situation that's going to be just disastrous in the long run. So I don't know on what premise that they chose because I have not seen geological maps of Dominica that classifies our subsurface strata in terms of if there is pumice, if there is rhyolite, if there is granite, if there is what kind of material that's in Dominica. There may be geological documents that exist. I haven't seen them. So before you do all that, there would have already been geological data that would tell you, hey, these materials are suitable. That is one aspect. The next aspect of that is, what do the laws of Dominica say when it comes to quarrying? Who owns Débranche? What are the royalties? Who benefits from the material? What is the cost of removing that material? And then what is the EIA in that particular area? So you can't tell me I have an EIA for the airport in Wesley, but it doesn't factor in Débranche and how it's affecting the drainage system, how it's affecting our water catchment areas, how it's impacting the rules and laws for the water catchment areas. Did we go to Parliament to amend the rules and laws that protects our catchment areas so that we can allow drilling? And then in an EIA, one of the most important things in an EIA is after you've done environmental impact assessment, you are supposed to have consultations with the people who are going to be affected, the people that the government is responsible and answerable to, the Dominican people. You have to have a conversation with them and say, hey, sir, gentlemen, ladies, this is what we found. This is what we are going to put in place. Before we build an airport, it's going to affect the rivers. We know there's going to be sedimentation. We have done a biological count. We have done a flora and fauna count. We have endemic species in there. We're going to move them to a protected area. We have mahogany. We have all kind of endemic species that are going to be destroyed. What is the cost of that? So guess what? We have not seen the cost of removal of. We could value mahogany. We could value what kind of plants are there. We have not seen the cost to the society, the cost to the fishing community, the cost to the communities downstream. Nobody spoke to the people before that system has started. So what it tells me is that somebody is making decisions on behalf of the Dominican people, for the Dominican people, but everything that is going on is not in their best interest. So my observation is an airport we were told was going to be $1.something billion. I think by the time it's done, it's probably going to be $550 billion. And if they want to prove me wrong, then show us the receipts. Show us the cost of the material. Show us all the finances that's involved in that airport, because after all, the airport is not built for Chinese. It's not built for dogs. It's not built for cats. It's not built for rats. It's built for the people of Dominica. And if the people of Dominica, the professionals, the forestry folks, the environmental folks, do not have a say. We talk about invasive species. I've heard about Cuban tree frogs. I've heard about midgets. I've heard about soil coming into Dominica without proper quarantine. I've heard about all that. When you calculate and put the cost of that international airport because of a lack of oversight, lack of transparency, lack of doing the proper EIA, McLean a sorry state. And like I said earlier, the end doesn't justify the means. Because as much as there are people in Dominica who think they are kings and they are emperors and they can do as they please, and our president can go to China and sit down and twin cities. We are not Chinese colony. We are not ruled by the laws that exist in a foreign country. For example, when the laws about EIA started, it was because in industrial countries like the US in the 1950s, they were building manufacturing plants, and the Industrial Revolution created a lot of development. But you know what they found out, Matilda? They found out that there were chemicals. They found out they were destroying the environment. They found out there were some chemicals that showed their faces way from miles from the source and was causing stuff like cancer, birth defects, and all kind of stuff in the population. Destroyed the animal life. So as a result, they had to put laws, because even if you're going to do infrastructure development, even if you're doing industrial development, you have to pay attention to the environment, because we are not separated from the environment. What we need to survive is air and water and food. All that comes from the ground and the soil. So if we destroy and contaminate the source of our existence, then we contaminate in ourselves. That is why there are laws. That is why EIA comes to play. But guess which country that does not respect the importance of the EIA? The Chinese. So even if their rule says they need to have EIA, what they do is they start projects, and before they have done the proper consultation with the people that matter, because to them people are not important. The people that matter, this construction. That's why a few months ago they built a massive road, and guess what? As a geologist, they built it in an active fault zone, earthquake zone, and guess what happened, Mark Peltier? The entire system collapsed. Can we afford something like that in Dominica? Recently, we heard in grammar school where a building roof collapsed, and the government is yet to answer to the people to tell them what was the cause of that. What did we do to prevent that from happening in the past, so that we can save lives of the people you asked them to vote for you every time?
I'll tell you what, we have so many guests lined up there. We do apologize, Lennon, but I'm sure you will continue to contribute. We're going to talk to an official there from the Marigot Development Committee who wants to express some concern and thoughts about this ongoing project.
We live this new land, Dominica, the whole of the pride. We're not friendly. Just away for a long time. This life was built for no one else wanted to stay. But now today we can be free.
Everybody seems very concerned. So what are you going to do about this? No law, no constitution, somebody says. What a fool's paradise. Somebody wants to know what's in the MOU. Why are the authorities not answering any questions about the project now going on? Michael Pascal is part of the Marigot Development Committee. He's on the line at this time. Michael, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
Afternoon, Matthias. I'm good.
Good to be talking to you this afternoon there. I know you two have some concerns about what's taking place. Share that with us.
Okay, but you said Marigot Development Corporation, but it's the Marigot Village Council. I'm the chairman, and I speak on that. With that.
In that capacity as well. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have been having serious concern for a while. I mean, as Annie indicated previously, I had called her about what appeared to have been started at the Dewash area, and I mean, as an engineer myself, chemical although, I mean, I was concerned as to what exactly was going to go down at Dewash. We heard it was a quarry, a mine, crushing for the airport. So we felt being so close to the road, we didn't have to get boots on the ground as yet because we felt that everything would have been done properly. So we at the council have been writing to the physical planning division because as far as we were concerned, individuals from MMC represented MMC, individuals from CR5 represented CR5. It was our view that the physical planning division, the folks there would do their job as enshrined in our laws. So what we have been doing as a council, as I said, no boots on the ground yet. We have been writing, advocating, coaxing, trying to get the physical planning division to come and speak to us, speak to the community as the laws say they should. That has been an exercise in futility. They have not responded. They have not, acknowledged. It's just total silence from the division, from the people in the country who get paid, to take care of those things. I mean, we have the view that the physical planning unit folks not prepared to do the job. They should leave because they have to come, as far as the law says, they have to come and speak to us, speak to the impacted areas, speak to the communities. We want to know, what's going on, what are the mitigating measures to be put in place, So, I want to use, this opportunity to once again call upon physical planning division, the directors, the people in there, to come out and speak to us. We're nice people. We're going to listen. We're going to ask questions. We are intelligent. Just come out and speak to us. Let us know what is going on. There's nothing about, being against development, but we know with development, there may be some negative things. We are very, very interested in the mitigating measures that are being proposed. Because we have had about a year experience with MMC, CR5, on moving stuff through our community of Marigot, for over a year. And, a simple mitigating measure like covering the trucks, which is in the EIA for the stone crushing at Tegua. Simple thing as that. We're going on a year. That hasn't happened. So we are wondering if a simple mitigating measure like covering of the trucks, which I think is in our law, which is in the EIA, which was a measure which the quarry, the crushing venture was given. Because certain things that had to be done. If you take a whole year and you cannot cover the trucks, I mean, what is going to happen at Debwash? So we are very concerned about, the exercises happening at Debwash. We've heard from MMC and CF5.
Well, you said you've contacted the various authorities. So if they don't listen, then what happens? I heard Annie talking about a short while ago, boots on the ground. Are you prepared to go that way?
Well, I mean, I think we will do what needs to be done. I mean, I think it's a national issue, right? And it shouldn't be an issue for, Marigot and Kalinago territory alone. I mean, this is a national issue. And, I mean, we will do what we have to do. We are seeking the information. We are trying to get those people who need to talk to us. And, maybe a time will come and the chips will fall the way they may.
Because you said you've been talking for a year, so it appears that your request has been falling on deaf ears, so nobody seems to be listening.
No, planning hasn't listened. CR5 MMC have listened, but they haven't taken action. So, I mean, that is where we are.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you for expressing your concern. I think I have a final note there from Annette. She says, Annette stands for the Kalinago chief. She said Dominicans have to stand together. Let me see if I can read that message there from Annette Sanford, the final note there. I want to speak directly to the people of Dominica. The protection of our forest, river, and natural heritage is the responsibility of everyone and not one community alone. It's the responsibility we all share. I'm calling on every Dominican to raise your voice. Stand to support the efforts to conserve our environment and save the river in Concord. This is one of the lifetime lifelines of our people. Once lost, we cannot get it back. Let us come together with courage, respect, and determination to protect land that sustains us all. Thank you for caring the people of Dominica. That's a message from the Kalinago chief, Annette Sanford.
Together, be Lord. One love, be Lord.
I think can we take 1-2 calls and we'll wrap it up there with the economic benefits. Let's take because the telephones have been going crazy. Hey, are you there, caller? Talk to me. Yes.
Yeah, Matt, good afternoon to you, Matt. Good afternoon to Hockey.
Brian Linton.
Yes, and to my sister Margot. I think Margot is there with you.
Yes, she is, yes.
Yeah, and to all our listeners. Matt, you just heard from our chairman, Mr. Mighty Pascal.
Yes, sir.
What he probably didn't tell you is that the consultations that you see they say that are supposed to be taking place right now, those consultations can at best be described as hostile consultations. Hostile one-man consultation. Consultations where you expect to argue, indicated by our chairman, Mr. Pascal, and by the chief, Annette, where we're supposed to be hearing from the people of the planning department and the people of the environmental department and the various stakeholders within the government operation. And we are just not hearing from these people. All of the consultations that you're hearing, they're talking about, it involves Isaiah Benoit and Isaiah Benoit alone sitting down and talking to the various people in the different communities. So much so When you ask Isaiah Benoit, who is he representing? He will tell you that he's working for MMCE and CR5. And I'm wondering how is that happening, because as far as I understand, MMCE is the principal contractor and CR5 is the subcontractor. And Isaiah Benoit will tell us that he's working for MMCE and CR5. So all of the people, as my chairman indicated, who are getting paid to look after our interests, to protect our interests, they are conspicuously absent from these consultations, these hostile consultations, where the people attending the consultations are threatened that if they record anything in those consultations, the consultations will immediately stop. Are you hearing what I'm saying, Matt?
I'm listening quite attentively, yes.
The people, those of us attending the consultations, those consultations, first of all, which are very poorly advertised, and even in the case of Marigot, the consultation, the hostile consultation in one of the most remote areas in Marigot. That's where they have the youth center. And it was not properly advertised. At one of the consultations that happened there, Matt, there were only probably around 6 people in attendance. Okay, 6 people. And I guess they would have classified that as a successful consultation. So that is one of the main issues we have dealing with the person who is supposed to be conducting those consultations. That person has been jockeying the Marigot Village Council with respect to follow-up meetings that we have agreed upon. And up till now, Matt, we have not been having those follow-up meetings. The last I heard on that, I do not know if the chairman mentioned that to you, Matt, is because there's a case where Mr. Edison James is challenging the quarry operation at Pegua, and the chairman of our village council signed an affidavit to support the motion in court, Matt. And as a result of that, he was informed by Mr. Benoit that, based on the fact that we have this issue in court, he signed this affidavit in court. He doesn't want to come to consult any further with the Marigot Village Council, Matt. So the village council, the people of Marigot are suffering because of that personal decision by Isaiah Benoit, while the residents continue to suffer the negative effects of what is happening. And as again you heard from our chairman, we are very interested in mitigating many of the problems and the challenges that we face, Matt. For example, the dust pollution. The water trucks can do much better than they're doing currently. We have a situation now, Matt, in the village where the elderly folks, they are actually afraid to walk on the road because of the trucks traversing the road. Not just because the trucks are traversing the road in the Matt, it's how they traverse the road. Matt, these trucks are driving on the road. You swear that it's racing cars sometimes.
You swear it's a highway.
Yeah, like a highway, Matt. And we have sent footage to Isaiah, to Floyd Capitola, to CR5, to show them the evidence of those things there. Our chairman mentioned about the uncovered trucks, Matt. You must see the state of our roads when those trucks continuously spill material on the road, especially when they're carrying the dirt, Matt, and all of those things, the deterioration of the roads, Matt, the edges broken off and so on. And as I was indicating, the elderly folks, Matt, they are afraid to walk on the road because of how the trucks are driving on the road. We have a situation in West Flat, Matt, where they place some speed bumps without any police intervention, without the Chinese just come and place speed bumps there, Matt. And those speed bumps, based on how the same trucks, the same vehicles are jamming against these speed bumps, causing tremors in the area. We have houses in the area which have big cracks in them because of that thing, and we have been showing those things to Mr. Isaiah Benoit, hoping to get some measure of relief, Matt. And nothing at all. It's just more talk and more talk. Matt, I want to take the opportunity to thank Gary Ogis and Gina
Brisbane.
Yes, Matt, because Matt, yesterday, for example, they addressed the Marigot Village Council. They did a presentation with the Marigot Village Council. It was very educational, very informative, and we believe that is the type of education that our people need to be aware of. They need to have to understand what is happening, because the presentation was historical, it was scientific, and importantly, Matt, it was very practical. And we need that type of education, Matt, so that people can understand what we are faced with here, Matt. Because, Matt, there's an elephant in the room, Matt, that people are afraid to speak about, Matt. The elephant in the room, Matt, is the Chinese influence in all what is happening here, Matt. Because we've heard from Mr. David Shagel some time ago that even when he reports his situation to the police makes him know that once MNC and the Chinese are involved, Matt, they cannot do anything much. So that is why, Matt, I am in agreement with Kalinago Chief that we need to put boots on the ground. And as you heard from our chairman, we are prepared to do whatever is necessary that we can get relief, Matt, because we have been talking excessively over a year now, making complaints, asking for interventions, Matt. Can you imagine, Matt, the Minister of Environment, we were informed yesterday at our meeting that the Minister of Environment actually revealed to certain people that he was talking to, Matt, that he knows nothing about what is happening in Debash. Can you imagine that, Matt? That is the situation that we are confronted with right now. That is why, Matt, we must find some time to deal with that elephant which is in that room, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I'm going to play this one before we introduce again and go back to Auntie Martin. The question is, do they really care about us? That's from Michael Jackson, huh? The big question. You want to sue me? All I have to say, they don't really care about us. That's in a nutshell from what I'm gathering here. All right, let's take a call and then we'll force Miss Martin and Margot to wrap it up here in the afternoon. Hello, talk to me, yes? Yes. Yes, I'm here.
You hear me?
I mean, you're loud and clear, sir. Go ahead.
Boy, let me tell you, something happened that I did, my sister was one of the leading dancer and singer in Cici Cordon band.
Mm-hmm.
She's 86 years old in Canada, at Sudaya. And Monday of this week, I was talking to her, and telling her we always talk about Dominica. And I told her, boy, you remember those days when you all were singing and so on? You can remember? She said, yes. I said, sing one of the songs for me. She sang 2 songs, and that one where Pakiti praised Dominic, or no, was one, and the other one was, she said, when I'm hearing that song here today, man, tears is coming from my eyes, man. Pakiti, you put Dominic from you.
Mr.
Just Monday down there. And my sister at 86 sang that song. If I had a recorder, I would have recorded. Oh, Lord, in essence.
I know. All right. This is the song you're talking about, right?
In the year 1493, Christopher Columbus came. He saw a huge mass of land. It was green, so
I think it seems like everybody's concerned.
it was only a city.
Well,
What is the way forward? What is the solution? That's a big question coming forward. What are the solutions going forward?
well the solution involves several steps. We don't have a magic wand that we can wave and do things or stop things, but we have a process. And what we engage with here, as well as what the others who have spoken out about this are engaged with, is bringing hopefully a level of appreciation and understanding of what exactly is happening. This is a creeping disaster, Matt. A time bomb. The clock on that bomb is ticking. And if you happen to have either a lot of rainy weather or when you get dry weather, it will multiply tenfold over again. So before the disaster hits in full force, let's get aware of what is coming so we can, like with a hurricane nowadays, we can make preparations to mitigate or reduce the damage from that silent, creeping disaster. I really do believe if we can get people in a little island like this to understand that, yes, and some people call me and just tell me before I have a chance to answer to me, we want our airport, we want our airport, we want our airport. Fine. Do you want your Dominica? Because if building a facility to receive what planes we don't even know, especially if you're paying attention to what's happening between the United States and Venezuela in the Southern Caribbean, if we build an airport and destroy the island, who will come? Even those in the diaspora who are living outside now, why would they come?
Yeah.
Because there's no Dominica left. And what is Dominica? When we say, I'm from Dominica, what do we mean? What is that place that we come from? Isn't it, as the song says, about our naturalness, the beauty, the freshness, the healthy air, the healthy water? Isn't that the Dominica we're talking about? And that all we have to do as a people who are blessed with 10 years is do what the Kalinago did. Remember, Kalinago have been living here for thousands of years. They didn't destroy Dominica. In fact, they protected all these natural systems and the life that is replete in those natural systems. What do we need to do? What are the lessons that we have learned from countries that have failed to take care of those natural systems? Even a country like the United States that had its own Dust Bowl many years ago, what did they have to do? They had to institute, as Lennon and others have said, laws, regulations to make sure that if you are going to build, because build you must build roads, you must build schools, hospitals, and so on. But you have to make sure that you build them in locations and with technologies and in a way that doesn't endanger the lives of those who will end up using those facilities. And so, the first thing we have to do is, I think of Annis Chilren pulling her dress, pulling her as she was talking on the radio. If we keep in mind the children of Dominica, and you keep in mind the elders, these are the two groups that sandwich the rest of the population. The elders can remember what Dominica was like 60, 70, 80 years ago. And the children are trying to get memories of Dominica that they hopefully will remember when they get to be 50, 60, 70 years old. But we seem hell-bent on preventing them from getting fine memories. And it seems to me we are in a situation where we have a form of governance and management of affairs in our country where a few men, mostly, are in charge of making decisions, but they are supposed to be making decisions of, for, and by the people of Dominica, which means involving the people of the country in those decisions. And when they are not sure, going back for consultation, not just with one or two, but with as many people in the country as possible. So we need to demand adherence to the laws of Dominica. I've heard our leaders say we are a country of laws. I don't know whose laws he's referring to, but definitely not those laws that are on our books, not our constitution.
You're making me laugh, Afi.
And not the laws.
Wow.
So it seems to me that also we need to send a signal, as Annette says, that we are not going to tolerate the destruction of Dominica in the name of development. That we are going to insist, as we've been told, on creating the first truly climate resilient island by doing things in a way that don't cause or aggravate destruction of what is the foundation of Dominica.
That's right.
So that's what we want. And if there are programs and projects that are going forward in violation of our laws and as a result causing damage, as these projects that we've referred to, they have to be stopped right now. So the first action is to take steps to stop those projects.
Stop it.
You hear me?
Just stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
A lot
Stop
of
it
the
now.
men in Dominica seem to have lost their testicles.
Jesus Christ.
Lord Jesus Christ, please
Please,
give the men of
Yeshua.
Dominica back their
Please,
testicles.
Yeshua, give them their
Give
balls
them
back.
their balls.
My God.
Because we need men with balls to stand up and face up.
Yes.
Don't mind, don't be afraid. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Think of your children and grandchildren. What are you leaving them? A dry, dead island that used to be called Nature Island. So people will come, the future tourists to Dominica, you want them to be visitors who came to see, oh, that is the place where they used
Yes.
to have nature.
They used to have, we boy.
No. So the first thing is every single individual to find, in consultation with their God, find the spiritual strength and fortitude and a sense of purpose to say you are not going to remain silent in the face of this open, blatant destruction. And number two, call out the individuals who are responsible for enabling that kind of destruction. Mr. Benoit.
Mr. Benoit.
The Minister for Planning, who
Yes.
is, I understand, somebody called Melissa, not the hurricane.
Not the hurricane, but equally
You know,
damaging.
and all the ministers of cabinet who sit down there and allow those bad decisions, those destructive decisions to make, call them out. Because the next call after stopping these projects is get rid of them.
That's right. Minister of Environment.
Get rid of them. If
Minister
they-
of Environment.
If they want to know how to do it,
Yes.
call Ralph Gonzalez.
There you go. Call Ralph.
He can tell you what you have to do if you want to get out.
But do you know someone
Okay.
someone just texted me that do you know that it was months that they had been up there going in there with no toilets. People had to complain so they can bring portalets in. So imagine you have like 20, just about 20 guys, let's say 20 guys doing their business every day. Where it's just going down in
It's
people
going down the
water.
river.
It's just go. Come on, come on, really?
My
That's what
final-
we're doing. That's disgusting.
My final suggestion is
Uh-huh.
Dominica, like all countries in the world, we have
Ministry of
friends.
Environment.
One of the friends of Dominica is the Chinese.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't agree with that, but I believe China 50 years ago, 60 years ago, was a poor country. And look at China today. In 1976, I went to China and people were dirt poor. Look at China today.
Yep.
And the government of China prides itself on being responsive to the development struggle in the global south. So I'm saying to the Chinese, through their ambassador here in Dominica, wake up, sir.
Please.
If you do not want a severe stain on your reputation as a developing country, get CR5 to stop their work on that project so that it can be properly redesigned, located, planned, and executed. Other than that, sir, China, the largest country in the world, probably one of the largest, is going to get a reputation for being the one who destroyed one of the smallest natural countries in the world. And I and others, we will take full responsibility to spread that bad news worldwide unless you stop your involvement and engagement with our leadership in an act to destroy Dominica. We cannot and will not remain silent on this one. And remember, the word is simply STOP. Now. Stop it.
Stop it.
Now. You wanted a final word, Margot?
Yeah, so I'm just following up on what Athi was saying, talking about our Chinese friendship. There was a list that was sent out with the last video that Gary Ogist did, and it listed the lack of all these things that is necessary for these projects: the ESIA, the EIA, permissions for for whatever, the fact that they didn't speak to the people of these communities. Okay, so this list went out. I got in touch with someone at the embassy and sent them the footage of this video and the list. She said that the Chinese embassy is not affiliated with the actual building. It is the government and MMCE. And CR5, the Chinese Railroad, is a company doing the work for them. Now, she passed on the information to the Chinese rep who deals with the airport. And the next day, boom, we got a statement saying that all these things were fake. In fact, they have the EIA. They have now. If you look at the letter, there is no letterhead on it. There is no signature for it to make it an official statement. So we're all going like, "What is this? What is this?" So it's yeah, and we want to see the documents. If I go back to another meeting and you don't have these things, and that should be the first thing you have at a consultation meeting like that. You're asking people to come up on a Sunday, no doubt, when you know it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, and then you have nothing to show them but a slideshow showing pictures of the damage you're doing. Come on, that doesn't make sense. Come on,
folks. It was a pleasure. Let's do it again sometime soon, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you very much, Margot. We don't. Well, I hope the authorities listen.
And the dream we want to see the way with a joyful face. And the one we shine in grace. Then why we keep running? And the stars so it was plain to see this one's happening. We got to fly so high, let our spirits never die. My heart, you are all my brothers. In a world with no fear, together we'll cry happy tears. The nations turn their swords into plowshares. We can really get there if you care enough. Make a little space to make a better place. Feel the world, feel a better place for you, for me, and the entire human race. There are people you care enough. Make a better place for you, for me. You are. For you and for me and the entire human race. There are beautiful make better things for you and for me.
Each time the wind blows, I hear your voice, so I call your name. Whispers and warning, our love is dawning. Heaven's glad you came. You know how I feel. This thing can't go wrong. I'm so proud to say I love you. Your love's got me high. I long to get by. This time is forever. Love is the answer. I hear your voice now. You are my choice now. The love you bring. Heaven's in my heart. At your call, I hear hearts. You sing. You know how I feel. This thing can't go wrong. I can't live. Just can't hold on. I feel we belong. My life ain't worth it if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. Then tell me just what we're do. I just can't stop loving you. And I hear the stars shine, bringing you out far. Your love is so true. The morning wakes me, when you come and take me, I'll wait for you. You know how I feel. I won't stop until I hear your voice saying I do. This thing can't go wrong. This feeling so strong. My life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And myself been telling me just what we're do. I just can't stop loving you. We can change. We can sing songs of yesterday. I can say, hey, farewell to someone. This is my life, and I want to just can't stop loving you. Just can't stop loving you. Tell me just what we're do. Just can't stop loving you. Just can't stop loving you. No. Being out across the night, city winks the sleepless eye. I'd always shake my window, sweet news inside. Me out into the nighttime for once more me tonight. If this town is just an apple, then let me take a bite. If they say why, tell them that it's human nature. Why, let me do it that way. If they say why, tell them that it's human nature. Why, let me do it that way. Reaching out, touch a stranger. Electric eyes are everywhere. See that girl, she knows I'm watching. She likes the way I stare. If they say why, stop that is human nature. Why they do it that way? If they say why, shut up that is human nature. Why does it do it that way? Living this way, I like loving this way. Looking out across the morning, the city's heart begins to beat. Reaching out, I touch her shoulder. I'm dreaming of the street. If they say why, tell them that it's human nature. Why does he do it that way? If they say why, does he do it that way? If they say why, they do it that way. If they say she's they do it that way. They do it that way. She's Gonna make a change for once in my life. Gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. And I turn up the collarbone. My favorite winter coat. The wind is blowing my mind. Looking in the street, but not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? It's me. Oh, they follow each other on the window. They got nowhere to go. No, something change. It's kind of love. It's time that I realize. Believe, pretending that they're not alone. Oh, well, deep is God, somebody's broken heart. They follow the pattern in the street. It's not me, that's why I'm starting. Asking you to change. If you wanna make the world, you can look at yourself and make a change. Think you don't you change your way. And if you wanna make the world, take a look at yourself and make a change. If you wanna make the world, take a look at yourself and make a change. It's gonna feel real good. Some more change. Just lift yourself. Me like a river Jordan, and I will then say to thee, you are my friend. Carry me like you are my brother. Love me like a mother. Will you be there?